children and families watching today's video. Today, we are going to be reading the book, The Big Red Barn by Margaret Wise Brown. And for our sensory activity, we are going to be exploring some natural materials that probably you might have at home, such as rocks or shells, or even some leaves or sticks or branches when you go for a walk outdoors. Okay, so for our music and movement, we would be needing an empty box. If you can go around your home and take a look if you can see any empty boxes, go and get it. This is what we're going to be using to do our greeting song as well as our Guess the Animal activity. So let's all get our drums. Get your drums, everyone, everyone. Come and get your drums, everyone, everyone. Now we're gonna sing our hello, hello, and how are you song while we are tapping on our boxes or our containers or Tupperwares. Hello, hello, and how are you? How are you? How are you? Hello, hello, and how are you? How are you today? Hello, hello, and how are you? How are you? How are you? Hello, hello, and how are you? How are you today? Wonderful! Now, because our book is all about the Big Red Barn, now let's test if you can identify some of the animals that can be living in a barn. We have a barn right here. And while we are guessing, we're going to be tapping on our boxes or containers. Here it goes. We are walking to the barn. We're playing with a beat. We are walking to the barn. And what do we see? This animal has a long mane, has some hoofs on its foot. And it sounds like this. Neigh, neigh, neigh. What animal says neigh? If you guess that it's a horse, then you are correct. Now let's see the next animal that lives here in the barn. We are walking to the barn, we're playing with a beat. We are walking to the barn, and what do you see? The next animal that lives here in the barn has lots of wool, and it says ba, ba, ba. Can you guess what animal says ba? If you guess that it's a sheep. Then you guessed it right. Now let's take a look at other animals that might be living here in the barn. We are walking to the barn, we're playing with a beat. We are walking to the barn, and what do we see? This animal produces milk, and it sounds like this. Moo, moo, moo. What animal says moo? If you guess that it's a cow, then you are correct. Now let's find out the last animal that lives here in the barn. Here we go. We are walking to the barn, we're playing with a beat. We are walking to the barn, and what do we see? This animal has lots of whiskers, and it likes to eat fish and drink some milk. And it sounds like this. Meow, meow, meow. Can you guess what animal says meow, meow? If you guessed that it is a cat, then you guessed it right. Now let's say bye to our animals. Bye, animals. Bye, barn. It is now time for us to read our story, which is The Big Red Barn, written by Margaret Wise Brown. By the big red barn in the great green field, there was a pink pig who was learning to squeal. Look at this pink pig. There was a great big horse and a very little horse. And on every barn, in a weather vane, of course, a golden flying horse. There was a big pile of hay and a little pile of hay, and that is where the children play. But in this story, the children are away. Only the animals are here today. The sheep and the donkey, the geese and the goats were making funny noises down in their throats. Can you point where your throat is? An old scarecrow was leaning on its hoe, and in a field mouse was born. There's the field mouse in a field of corn. Cock-a-doodle-doo! In the barn there was a rooster and a pigeon too, and a big white hen standing on one leg, and under the hen was a quiet egg. Can you see that little quiet egg? There was a bantam rooster and a little bantam hen with a big clutch of eggs. Count them, there are 10. Can you see the eggs? Let's count together to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. There are 10 eggs right here. Cock-a-doodle-doo! Moo, moo. There was a big brown cow and a little brown cow. There was an old black cat, meow, 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 and a tiger tomcat, meow, meow. There was a big red dog, bow wow, and there were little puppy dogs, all round and warm. They all lived together in the big red barn, and they played all day in the grass and in the hay. When the sun went down in the great green field, the big cow lowed and the little pig squealed. The horses stomped in the sweet warm hay, and the little donkey gave one last bray. The hens were sleeping on their nests, and even the roosters took a rest. The little black bats flew away out of the barn at the end of the day. There they were all night long, sound asleep. In the big red barn, only the mice were left to play, rustling and squeaking in the hay. You might not see it, but it's very tiny right here. In the dark night sky. The end. I hope that you enjoyed the story about the big red barn and exploring the different animals that lives here in the barn. For our sensory activity, we're going to be looking at some natural things that you probably can find at home, such as rocks and shells, or maybe even some sticks. When you go outside for a walk, you can bring them inside your home. An example over here that I have are large shells and small shells. I have big rocks and I have smaller rocks. And if you have some animals at home, some plastic animals or paper animals, you can also use them to do some pretend play, such as maybe they could be eating or they could be sleeping. You can do many different pretend plays with your natural materials that you can find at home, or even when you go outdoors for a walk, you can find a few sticks or leaves or pine cones, and you can wash them and bring them inside your home and play with them with your animals, plastic animals that you might have at home. So families and children, I hope that you enjoyed today's video, as well as our music and movement, our animal guessing activity, as well as our story. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again. Bye!